Hello, hello, hello. You're very most welcome back to my platform. Welcome back to GMAsh Speaks. Thank you for clicking on that link. Thank you for giving me a chance to communicate with you on the particular subject in discourse. We are talking about education. We are talking about empowering, or you can say empowerment. And that's what we are on right now. We are living in very disturbing times today. After COVID-19 has swept through our globe and left its destruction in its wake, this is going to change our lives as a globe forever. However, after this current wave we are going through, next comes the next big wave of events that will determine how many of us that survive COVID-19 will survive the next big waves. The waves that we as a globe are being primed to experience. None of what is happening today has not been scripted. Everything we are walking through today is part of a script. We are part of a movie. And this movie, this script, has been made by the four dominant industries today in our globe. Every part of it is scripted. Today is the 3rd of April, no, beg your pardon, the 2nd of April 2020. And what GMAsh Speaks says is that we have been positioned as pawns in the game of chess that these four dominant industries are going to play. And the only way that we as a people are going to survive the coming tirade of events post COVID-19 is by educating and empowering ourselves. Anything short of that leaves us vulnerable as pawns in the hands of these four chess masters. Education is the most powerful weapon. We are looking at education at this point in time. It is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. And mindset network is a powerful part of that world changing arsenal. That's why we have the Synthesis Toolbox Kit. In his address in Madison Park High School in Roxbury in 1990, one of my greatest role models, Nelson Mandela, stressed the importance of education, saying that he was very deeply concerned. So many students were dropping out of school. That was his concern. And he said, he goes on record to say that this is a very disturbing situation because the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. We know that the reason for our children leaving school and the very elementary standards is because of poverty and frustration, he told the students. He urged the students to try as much as possible to remain in school. Nelson Mandela then goes on to say a whole lot of things which I will not even attempt to recount here. However, drawing from that speech which I've just given, which he stated in 1990 in Madison Park High School in Roxbury, drawing from that speech and also from my other role models and mentors, I am propelled to say that what we as a people have been taught since being kids, what we have been socialized in, and I'm now referring now with reference and respect to optimal health, we've been taught in an almost fatal belief system, a system that our futures were preordained by our hereditary and genetic materials. It is a system that predisposes us as victims and victims to our genes and race, right from when the race in life started. It's an education system that already disadvantages a majority and advantages a select few. Now, that is not just true in itself. It's not a complete statement of truth I've just mentioned here, as this predisposes that we are victims of our environment and as such, we have lost control of our destinies. Now, this is why we as a tribe have created the Census's Toolbox Kit. It's a toolbox kit created to address or to redress the imbalance that we are not in control of our own destinies. That is not true. And this is why we have the 8th pill. Now, the 8th pill that we are going to be looking at in this particular series is education and empowerment. Now, this 8th pill, part of the 9 toolbox kit, we've gone through 7 pills up to date. We have one more pill after this, the success pill. Now, this 8th pill will have to be covered in 2 parts. I'm referring to education and empower, because this is the bedrock on which we are building the GMAS Speaks podcast. We are building the GMAS Speaks videos, the blogs, the vlogs, the audio clips, and so many other various platforms that we're going to be building from the 9 pill toolbox kit. So understanding this pill, this current pill, the 8th pill, is crucial as it forms the building block for our complete toolbox kit. So you will need to have a proper view of both parts, because it's going to be covered in 2 parts. I'm going to break it down into education and empower. In order to get a full and good grasp on the education and empower pills, I will suggest that we all go through this. So it's like I said, it's a 9 toolbox kit. Okay, and the essence of this is to create new conversations, new understanding, is to create a new awareness. And we are currently on the 8th pill, which is the education and empower pill. Now, the whole objective, the complete scope of having this 9 toolbox kit, 9 pills toolbox kit, is to give each and every person success. And success is epitomized, or success is actualized, when we have experienced optimal 5-star health and wealth. That is the objective of this tribe, to give each person optimal 5-star health and wealth. And it's a long process, and we are in that process. So now, one truth that GMAS Speaks is putting out there is that 95% of who we are by the time we are 35 years old, thereabouts, is a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, and hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that make us function, or actually in themselves that function as a computer program. So that's what we are. Okay? And as Mandela said in his address in Madison Park High School in 1990, he said this, and I'm going to recount on that. This is a very disturbing situation, because the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. We know that the reason for our children leaving school and the very elementary standard is because of poverty and frustration. I quote Mandela. Well, we draw from that and say that the current health situation that we as a globe find ourselves in is a very disturbing one, because today we as a tribe believe that one of the reasons why we are having so many of the COVID-19 fatal casualties is due to a high number of chronic underlying illnesses and a highly compromised immune system. The COVID-19 virus is only but the beginning of a systematic sequence of events that will unveil themselves over the next few years. Mark my words, we are in 2020. The next few years are going to be key and critical to our destinies. We believe that the next few years will leave only those who take the destiny of their health and wealth lives into their own hands and steer their lives in a direction that they themselves want, and not the direction that the 5 big industries, namely, I know I mentioned 4, but there's a 5th one. The 5 big industries, namely the big foodie, big cosmeceuticals, big pharma, and the next biggest player, and please make a note of this, the next biggest dominant revolution that we are going to experience in more than believable dimensions is the release of big telco, meaning big telecommunications. Our worlds are going to be driven by data, going to be driven by the next big thing, already been rolled out globally, 5G, and that brings in its wake a whole tirade of unintended consequences, worse than the consequences we as a people have experienced from any other major revolution that this globe has ever experienced. Guys, prepare yourselves for unintended and also intended consequences of what I call, or what is known today as, the fourth industrial revolution, which is a massive technological revolution which will leave more casualties in its wake than any other global pandemic that has ever been known by and to man. Let me put context into this. A revolution that is technological is a period in which one or more technologies is replaced by another technology in a short amount of time. Okay, it's a period, it's an era of accelerated technological progress characterized by new inventions or innovations whose rapid application and diffusion cause an abrupt change in society. That is what I refer to as a technological revolution. Now, building on the widespread availability of digital technologies that were the result of the third industrial or digital revolution. Now, the fourth industrial revolution, which is drawn largely by the convergence of digital, biological, and physical innovations, is actually ushering us into the most devastating revolution ever known to man. Okay, and that's why I say welcome to the world where the convergence of technology and humans is quickly ushering us into the era of deep artificial intelligence. And this is going to usher us to the next big revolution. We are staring in the face the fifth industrial revolution. We are still in the fourth. However, we are just at the doorstep of the fifth, and it's happening now as a result of what has happened globally with COVID-19. The world is currently deep into the fourth industrial revolution. That's the era describing the blurring of boundaries between the physical, digital, and biological worlds, like I mentioned. And we are currently seeing how the play, now talking about biological, we are currently seeing how the play in a biological warfare. Now, as we are deep in the fourth industrial revolution. Now, this is the era with the fusion of advances in artificial intelligence, otherwise called AI, or robotics, and also the Internet of Things, that's the IoT. We are also seeing 3D printing. Just, I think yesterday there were two Italians who printed out some made up face masks used for ventilating, some stuff like that. So we are seeing 3D printing becoming a day-to-day thing. We are also seeing genetic engineering. We are seeing quantum computing and other technologies. So here's the thing, and here is what GMAT Speaks will be doing as a tribe, and we'll be doing this we'll be bringing this to you through our nine toolbox kit, which is called the Synthesis Toolbox Kit. We are here to build a tribe that understands that we are on the verge of a further massive global disruption. And this disruption is to our lives, and it goes beyond COVID-19. Now we need to realize that the premise of each revolution thus far, now we're discussing about the industrial revolutions, that the premise of each revolution thus far has been that it improves or has improved human life. Now that's the premise of every industrial revolution. Okay, we are already getting used to the idea of a digital native. Okay, throwing out the rule books of 9 to 5 employment. That's what we are experiencing now. When I say that, I mean it's already been put in place now. The 9 to 5 workplace environment is a thing of the past. But with what is left in the wake of the current global pandemic, that's the COVID-19 pandemic, this is definitely going to expand even further. The 9 to 5 system that we're used to is a thing of the past. As at March 2020, it's a thing of the past, and it's going to become even further post COVID-19. Now, this fifth industrial revolution, otherwise known as 5IR, is going to be sold to us as a globe very, very certainly, very gently. Each of the surviving 7 billion of us after COVID-19 will be asked to ask ourselves, we'll be asked to ask the question, and we're going to be asked this question each and every day. And this is the question they're going to ask us. How can we, now these are the big players, how can we, big pharma, how can we, big foodie, how can we, big cosmeceuticals, okay? And like I said, the next big player, how can we, big telco, make the world better rather than just more efficient or just more productive? They're going to ask us those questions, and they're going to ask those questions to the fifth big player. Remember I mentioned there are 5 big players. The fifth big player is, guess who? It's you and I. It's the big consumer. So there are 5 big players in this chess game. It's big foodie, it's big pharma, it's big telco, it's big cosmeceuticals. So that's the fourth one. And of course is big consumer. We are about to witness an unimaginable quantum leap. We are about to witness the release of solutions, innovations, mitigations. Now listen guys, it is no rocket science. This is staring us right in our faces. Over half of existing jobs, mostly in the fourth industrial market. And if I were to quantify that market, it's equivalent to about 50 trillion in wages. Okay, now over half of that market has the potential to be automated. The nature of our work and our lives will change forever post COVID-19. This will create a world with far less work done by humans. Essentially, guys, prepare now or be left behind. Prepare now or be left behind. That is a statement of fact. I will not dwell further on this subject, and I will present what this tribe believes in other smaller podcasts. This is not the intention for this podcast, but it's a huge thing. I just want to sound out that alarm bell. Now, GMASH Speaks has a clear vision for and of our future in this tribe. And part of what it is built upon is what becomes our purpose. It's what constitutes our purpose. It's a vision and purpose that is much bigger than what we can achieve, most especially single-handedly. And that is to transform the lives of individuals one person at a time in order to create a culture and a tribe that will live in optimal health and wealth. That is our purpose. We need knowledge to get educated and empowered. In achieving that, we are all aware of what the good book says of us as a people. That's my favorite book. It says that we are preserved and get to experience success when we have an abundance of knowledge. Now, I'm putting it in a very positive manner, in a positive way. I mean, the direct way is it's stated in my favorite book. It says this, and it says it bluntly. My people perish for a lack of knowledge, right? That is what the good book says. So essentially, knowledge is power. However, knowledge about yourself is self-empowerment. We are in an age of information, and in an age of information, ignorance is a choice. So when you have knowledge, when you have information, ignorance is a choice. Now, this tribe is set up for us to learn, study, change, to apply, to educate, and to empower. We are here to stay. We are here to create a new tribe culture medium. We are here to create a culture of optimal health and wealth. It is not, never will it be our intention to fix the failed medical and health system. That's not our intention. We are just not equipped, neither are we programmed to do that. Why fight a failing system? What we are here to do is to provide a platform to do just that, to provide a platform for a successful system. Hence, we have created the Synthesis Toolbox Kit with the intention to give us the tools that we can embrace so that we can thrive. Now, my favorite book says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So we've created the Synthesis Toolbox Kit with 9 pills. And with these 9 pills, we are positioned to create new thoughts which should lead to new choices. We are well aware that new choices should lead to new behaviors, and that new behaviors should in themselves create new experiences, and new experiences in themselves should create new emotions, and that in itself should inspire a new health awareness, optimal health evolution. That is what we are about. Now, one of my catchphrases, my popular catchphrase is, when you think good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. Essentially, we've identified that the mind is powerful. And the moment your mind becomes the general and the body the soldier, then literally any and everything is possible. Any and everything. My good book says, my favorite book says to the person, each person who believes, the good book says, to you who believe, all things are possible. If you believe, or rather when you believe. So we have a big purpose in creating optimal health and wealth possibilities. That's what we are here about. The education of the mind is our key. It's our passport to immense health and successful health. And this is what we are going to spend the next 2 podcasts sharing. This is part 1. There's a part 2. Now, what medical science has done today is to take advantage of what we have been given as a free gift at birth. That's the power of the mind. What I'm saying is in context of this education and empowerment pill. It's in context of this particular podcast. Okay. Now, with the 9 pills in the toolbox kit, what we've put together is a model to facilitate the creation of a new health and wealth conscious personality. So we are creating a new consciousness. We believe in our tribe that a person's personality creates his or her personal reality, and that members of this tribe will acquire new optimal health and wealth personalities made up of how we think, of how we feel, and of how we act with regards to health and wealth. We would like for everyone who listens to our podcast to bring along their current thought processes and their current ideologies on both health and wealth spectrums. However, we will ask that each one of us who listens to this podcast and eventually becomes a part of this tribe, we will ask that you apply 3 things when in the tribe, or whenever you listen to to the podcast. Now, these three things, I did mention them during my launch on the 15th of February at Burj Khalifa. I encourage you to try get that podcast. It's the first podcast I made. Now, the three things that I mentioned, which you can find on my website, www.gmashspeaks.com, and my personal website, www.georgemashigo, spelled GeorgeMashigo.com. You can find them on those two websites or on the YouTube channel. And these three things are this. And we are applying this on all the subject matters that we're going to discuss about. Is what do we know now about the topic in discourse? What do we need to know about the topic in discourse? What can we do with what we will know about the topic in discourse? We believe that with these three indicators, as long as they're in effective play and with a strong and deliberate presence of mind, we believe that our tribe members, that their personalities, which is actually their state of being, that's the state of mind, will be optimal, leading us into a healthy state of homeostasis, both health and wealth-wise. For as long as members of this tribe keep taking the 9 pills daily, for as long as we keep thinking identical or we build on similar thoughts, when we keep demonstrating the same behaviors, when we keep living by the same feelings and the same emotions, then most especially our personal health realities will be similar or will grow to be exactly the same. That's the objective. Okay. However, when we have new thoughts that lead to new choices, okay, and these new choices will demonstrate a new sense of awareness and new actions, which will in themselves create new health and wealth experiences that will cause us to feel differently. When we start on this particular footpath, we should be prepared for unfamiliar feelings and unfamiliar daily commitment. It's not going to be easy, guys. That is not what we are putting across. It's a dedicated course of action. It is in this unfamiliar and new environment that we'll begin to walk into a new optimal health and wealth future. That is the purpose of this tribe. That is why we've put this tribe together. And what we've done is to adopt and to look at existing principles. Okay. Now, here I've put out a picture or a screenshot of what is called, or let me not go ahead of myself. Okay. You can see the screenshot there. So we are taking advantage, like I mentioned, of current revolutionary trends, which are global. And these trends we've put together to educate and empower a new tribe. We are using facts and science. Science has taken the power that our mind has to channel healing, wealth, and optimal health. That's what science has done. Okay, it's taken this power. Our minds are powerful. Now, there is what I call a science that is 35% effective. That means 1 in 3 people will have this science effective and will get effective and positive results. When a person who is an authority figure or who is an authority, a person is, and when I say that person who is an authority, is someone in a place of authority, okay, somebody who we regard quite highly. It could be in different disciplines. It could be in your home. It could be in your community. It could be in your society. It could be in your school. It could be in your family. Now, when that person proceeds to give you a positive injunction, then because that person is highly placed within the spectrum of your mind, we will proceed to believe in that injunction. And as a matter of the thinking in your heart, you then go on with that injunction to effect changes in your physiology, changes in your body, changes in your mind, changes in your whole being. Then that positive result we get from believing in that injunction from this person in a place of authority. The positive result we get is what science calls a placebo effect. A placebo effect is the effect where you take a sugar pill, or you could even take a sweet, thinking you're taking a chemical pill, a pharmaceutical pill, and it has an effect in your mind, in your brain. This is what is called a placebo effect, and it is 33%, close to 35% effective. 1 in 3 will get the full benefits of a placebo injunction. Now, there is a flip to a placebo, which is called a nocebo. A lot of us don't know about this, but it's the reverse of placebo. Okay? A nocebo is when an authority figure, someone in a place of authority, gives somebody who looks up to that authority figure a negative injunction that something bad is going to happen. And your physiology begins to change from that point. Literally, it begins to deteriorate. Now, taking a petrochemical or a pharmaceutical pill, this nonsense that we're giving, when sick, is the act that a lot of people simply need to do in order to begin to feel well and okay. Just taking that sugar pill, it's just a ritual. So that ritual is it's identified and associates to have a positive healing effect. Even if they know it is not medicine, the action itself can stimulate the brain into thinking the body is being healed. That is the power of the mind. And like I said in my favorite book, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Which is why it is very key what people within your own environment, people in place of authority in your life, people in who you put your life into, such as medical practitioners, it's very essential, and we need to be careful what they say or communicate to you as a patient, if you are a patient of that medical practitioner. Now we at GMAS Speaks believe that the power of the mind is so underrated. We believe that in educating and empowering our minds, we create our own health and wealth destinies. When you think good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. Is a testament to how our minds can be a powerful healing tool when given the chance and the right environment. The idea that our brains, that our minds, when in optimal health, and I say this as a recount to what I've said in my previous podcast, when our health, our minds, our brains have enough cholesterol, amongst other hormones, okay, the idea is that our brains can convince our bodies that a treatment or a course of action or a lifestyle that we are committed to is the real thing. This in itself stimulates healing in our bodies. The body is made to be a self-healer. When we educate ourselves and we subject our minds or our bodies under the right circumstances, under the right cultural mediums, under the right environment, then what we do as a tribe, what we feed our minds and our bodies with, in this case, will be more effective than traditional or chemical treatment. I'm a testament to that. The philosophy that we are serving on our tribesmen is that we can change the destinies of our health and wealth by reprogramming our minds with these 9 pills in the Synthesis Toolbox Kit. We can reprogram our minds and have a new software, and that this new software, which essentially are new programs in the Toolbox Kit, will then become a hardware in our minds. If all we do is focus on the current negative state of our being, be it in poverty or ill health states, if all we do is think about our problems and turn on those stress chemicals like cortisol, then what we are actually doing is creating thoughts that will make us poor and much more sick. Here is where taking the education and being empowered, or using the education and empowerment pill, comes in. Since it is possible that our thoughts could keep and make us poor and also sick, then it is also possible that our thoughts could make us healthy, wealthy, and well. In this tribe, and I've made a mention of this in one of my podcasts, we believe that 90% plus of doctors' visits are caused by stress. And we also believe in this tribe that it is a scientific fact that the long-term effects of the hormones of stress down-regulate our genes and create disease. And this is done by simply turning on the stress response just by thought alone. Guys, if you do one thing, please listen to what I'm about to say next, because in this statement are embedded and embodied nuggets of truth, nuggets that will set us free from what is coming at us very soon. We have a big cash machine, a cash cow, which is the pharmaceutical industry. And they're making straight money. They're making money from us. They are cleaning us out. And we are doing this as an element of choice. We're not being twisted in our hands. We are doing this as a choice in which we subject ourselves to. Guys, here is my statement. The biggest clean out is about to happen. I repeat myself again. The biggest effect, the biggest clean out is about to happen with the cure to the COVID-19 virus. There is going to be a cure released to the globe, and this is going to happen within the next 6 months or even less. Now, what is my point here? There is going to be a vaccine that's going to be approved by the keepers of the castle, the keepers of the gate, the watchmen, and that is WHO. WHO will soon approve this vaccine, and with the buyout of government, with the support of government, will make it. These governments are going to make it, and please do note, make a note of this. This is now my next big statement. The government, the health authorities globally, and most especially the G20s. The G20s, I'm referred to Argentina, Australia, and Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, the Korean Republic, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the United Kingdom, the United States, the European Union, and my beloved country, South Africa. These are the ones who are part of the G20. Now, the G20, under the instruction of the WHO, okay? Now, WHO happened to be under the instruction of Big Pharma. I mean, WHO is funded by Big Pharma, just in case you do not know. Now, WHO are going to make it mandatory for schools and businesses to establish confirmations that each learner and each employee has of necessity taking the vaccine. It's going to become mandatory. However, I will stop short of saying this. Guys, there will be lots of lawsuits. There are going to be lots of claims. There are going to be lots of counterclaims. Okay? A select and educated and empowered few will not take any of these vaccines. A select few. Simply because of the power of education that they possess. And they will also instruct their children and those who they love be not given any of these vaccines. I, as a parent, I am going to instruct my daughters not to ever take, for instance, the HPV vaccine when it finally becomes mandatory. Okay, I'm not going to go deeper into that in this podcast. What I'm going to do is look out for my podcast titled "Vaccinated to Die," and I would delve deeper into that. So, how do we break this cycle? How do we break this monopoly? How do we fight this huge big pharma, this huge big foodie, these huge big cosmeceuticals, and these huge big telco companies? I say we can only break this in two ways. There are only two ways we can break this. Okay? Basically, stop taking and using their products. These products have a negative effect on you and in you. So that's one way. Stop taking the products from all these big four. Then, with this answer I've just given, comes the most natural response, which is, how can I stop buying and using these products? I mean, they're all over the place. These are all we know to use. And in response to that, GMAS Speaks gives the second way to break this monopoly. And my response is, educate and empower yourself, because you are the one that has the control over this. You have that control. I would like to put my recommendations into perspective, the two I've just given now. Now let's keep this to medical interventions. Guys, do we know that any petrochemical nonsense drug, and I mean any in its totality, any drug that we buy and take, whether it's prescribed over the counter, any chemical drug that we use that has an effect on you and in you, you have just got to understand one thing. You've got to understand that these drugs affect you because your body has a natural equivalent of that drug in its own biology. Every drug given to us by Big Pharma has an effect in our own biology. So let's educate. Let's take time now to educate and empower ourselves. Let's go through this path together. Do we know that every artificial drug we take affects us because there is a natural and equivalent drug our bodies make? I'm going to repeat this statement I've just mentioned and make reference a number of times, and you'll understand why later on. Every natural and equivalent drug that our bodies, or so rather every pharmaceutical drug, every artificial drug that we take affects us because there is a natural and equivalent drug that our bodies make. Our bodies makes drugs. It does, natural. You cannot take a drug that affects you and you do not have what we call a receptor for that drug in your body. It is impossible, and that is a fact. Now, you ask me, what's a receptor? A receptor is like the keyhole to a lock. Now, you cannot open up a locked door without using a key to unlock it. Every door has one keyhole. However, each door can have many keys. There is one lock, but there are many keys. Just the same way with our bodies. A receptor is the keyhole, and the key is the drug. Now, do we have a receptor for every drug that's been heavily commercialized by the big pharma industry? Oh yes, we do. Every drug, most especially the ones for chronic illnesses, work in and on our bodies for the mere fact that the big pharma industry has a very good understanding of what is called a receptor. They understand it very well. Every natural hormone in the body that is used to ensure homeostasis in the body is effective because they have natural receptors. I've established that fact. I believe you understand that. Now, Big Pharma never creates, for instance, a protein drug without first establishing that there is a natural protein receptor for that drug. Now, if they do that, they will need to explain to their shareholders why there was such a waste in researching and developing that particular drug. Okay? I mean, for them to do that will be silly and a waste of, to be a waste and to be non-profitable. I mean, creating such a drug. So they will have established the fact that this particular drug we're about to create has a natural receptor. So if you have a receptor for a drug, then by simple definition, that receptor was already there simply because there is a natural drug your body creates already going through the receptor. Now, let me take a shot in giving an instance of this that I learned from one of my mentors, Dr. Bruce. So in smoking pot, and there is a drug called tetrahydrocannabinol, okay? Otherwise called, let me make it simple, otherwise called THC. I've said anything I say in this podcast must be easily understood by a 6-year-old or by grandmother. So when I start mentioning tetrahydrocannabinol, it's like, hey, what's that? It's THC. And THC is the chemical responsible for most of marijuana's physical effects. Okay? Now, THC has a receptor in our bodies. I mean, when I say pot, I mean marijuana or marijuana. Okay? Now, we make our own natural cannabinoid chemicals. Our bodies make that. It's made naturally by the body. Okay, it's made in the human endocannabinoid system. There is a system called the endocannabinoid system. Okay, and it's a complex network of cannabinoid receptors found throughout the entire body. It's found. So this kind of cannabinoid receptors are found in the brain, in our organs, in our connective tissues. They are found in our glands. They are found in our immune cells. They are all over the body. Okay. Now, the externally manufactured THC act very much like our natural cannabinoid works. THC works exactly the same way our natural cannabinoid works. Okay, a good example of one of our body's natural drug. I'll give a good example here. Okay, so a good example which we produce naturally, which Big Pharma produces and sells as THC, is a chemical called anandamide. Okay, so anandamide is a cannabis-like chemical which does more than just make you feel blissful. Now, this natural drug is synthesized in parts of the brain, and this is important. It's synthesized in the parts of the brain responsible for memory, for motivation, for higher thought processes, for movement, as well as pain, appetite, and fertility. Now, when we understand what roles anandamide plays in our bodies naturally, we gain a greater understanding of the possibilities of THC. And Big Pharma has done this to a huge and large extent. Anandamide is the chemical that helps us forget unimportant details. It improves our happiness and increases neurogenesis. That means creating of new nerve cells. It also rewards us for a job well done while battling anxiety and depression. Now, that's a versatile, hard-working chemical, and it's produced in our bodies naturally. Now, guess what triggers anandamide in our bodies naturally? They're not going to tell you this. Guess what? Dark chocolates, guys. And when I say dark chocolate, I do not mean the sugary crap that big foodie sells. I mean dark chocolates, 80% cocoa, that help lower the risk of heart disease, reduces inflammation and insulin resistance, and also improves brain functions. So what Big Pharma has done basically is to take advantage of our ignorance. So here's one of the exposed tricks that Big Pharma takes advantage of. They say if you want to have the effect of the drug that your body makes for free, this is what our body makes for free. They say if you want to have the effect of that drug, when you have or you take an outside drug, they sell us an outside drug which is heavily priced to get the effect and the benefit of what our natural bodies make. So we at GMAS Speaks, we say no. What we simply need to do is to educate, empower, and change our consciousnesses, because we already manufacture every equivalent of any drug that Big Pharma manufactures and is feeding us as chemicals for prescription. And this we do at the cost of degrading and breaking down our own bodies and paying the price for it to the point of going bankrupt. Okay, the biggest cause of bankruptcy globally is our medical bills, beg your pardon. So Big Pharma takes advantage of our lack of knowledge, which according to the good book, then makes us perish. Well, at least in this context, when it comes to do with health. Big Pharma states that since we as patients are not manufacturing our natural body drug, then all we need to do is just to take their pharmaceutical nonsense drugs to make up for our body's inability or lack of natural drug production. Whereas what we need to do, what we need to be told, which of course Big Pharma will not tell us, is that we need to change our habits. We need to reduce stress levels, in particular cortisol. We need to change our choices and change our lifestyles. Now, I'm making a general statement here in terms of the health status and condition of the person with the challenge. Okay, so it's a general statement I'm making, so I'm being cautious here. And I'm saying that in the event where your body cannot make the natural drugs, or you cannot do this without external drugs, it's a general statement. However, I'm just giving a rundown on what typically happens on how petrochemical drugs work and get absorbed by our bodies. I've just given a high level of that. Okay, so as we educate and empower ourselves, what we need to do as a tribe is improve ourselves. Okay, now I'm about to round up on this particular series, is to improve our consciousnesses, awaken and stimulate, build our consciousnesses, because the fact that we are not producing that particular drug could mean that our body is under sustained stress, or it could also imply that our consciousnesses is not just supporting us in optimal health. And so it's really about an adjustment of our consciousnesses and not for us to adjust our biology. Okay, what we say we need is a mindset shift, and that we don't need the solution in a pill. We don't need to be told that we are victims of our genes or of our hereditary, or being given that old genetics nonsense story. Okay, and this is being told to a lot of patients. We don't need to be told that well, you've got this cancer gene and you need to undergo poisonous treatment, which in itself, when you start going through those treatments, further tears down an already beat up body. And I have debunked the genetic nonsense in one of my my opening presentations. If you check my podcast on epigenetics, I've debunked that rubbish. Please do refer to that podcast on epigenetics. It will shed more light on the genetic nonsense that we've been socialized in from communities that we grew up in. And that's why I've said that the structured education system has actually failed us. The structured education system is outdated and needs a total overhaul. So I'll be closing this part 1 titled 008A, Education Sets Free. It's the 9th pill in this series. I'll be closing on the note that there is still a volume of discourse that will follow on this one, which will wrap up this particular pill. Okay, and it's going to be one. I'm going to focus more on empowering our minds. Okay, it's going to be titled something like 008B, Empowered to Health. Please do look out for this concluding part of the 8th pill in the Synthesis Toolbox Kit. We are on the 8th one, Education and Empower. In the meantime, you want to check my website, www.gmashspeaks.com, or you can also check www.georgemashigo.com. That's georgemashigo.com, or you can check my YouTube channels for other podcasts. So we have completed now this particular part A on the 8th pill, Education and Empower. We've completed the education part of it. Okay, we are going up next to look at the part B of this series, which is the Empower pill. Guys, look out for this podcast. It's in the mail. It's coming to you. It's going to be served to you. All you need to do is just to click on the link once you see that link. Thank you so much for being a part of this series. Thank you so much for taking out time to listen to me speak about education and empower. I have emphasized on education at this point in time. I'm going to shift into the empowerment side. Guys, you don't want to miss this. It's going to blow your socks out of the back of the bathtub. So please click on the link. Thank you so much and have a good day. God bless. I appreciate you guys. Today is the 3rd or the 2nd of April 2020. I will most definitely put out this podcast tomorrow being the 3rd or latest by the 4th. God bless.